If everything is going right at the same time, it's like we're peeking around the corner because we know something's about to pop up. You know what I mean? But if you were to remove me from the roofing industry and you were to remove me from the fitness industry, if somebody came along and said, look, I don't ever want to see you on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube ever again, here's $5 million, go disappear, I still wouldn't be at peace. I was raised to my father and everybody else, but at the same time, it's just seeing the youth now and seeing the disrespect on some of these kids, man. I'm like, like I smile thinking my teeth would have been on the floor if I would have talked to my parents like that back in the day. And
Welcome to the Roofing Millionaires show, Jason. It's great to have you on the podcast, and thank you so much for making your time out here and making it to this podcast. How are you feeling today?
good. Cold here in South Central PA, so I got the shivers going on overall,
Mm,
but headed into the end of the year, big holiday week, next 2 weeks coming up with Christmas and New Year's. So I appreciate you having me here this morning.
that's great to hear. So, Jason, let's just start off with correct me if I'm wrong. You are in your 40s now, and as far as I know, you have been into roofing since last 9 years. How did the journey begin from your childhood to where you are at right now?
From a childhood to where I am now. Was raised really, really strict parents. Dad obviously always wanted more for his three sons. He grew up without a father, and we were raised hard nosed. Made a lot of mistakes. After getting out of high school, I had a scholarship to play football that subsequently went awry just because I decided to have a kid. And I thought I was doing the right thing by staying behind and taking care of the kid when in reality it would have been well better played off as in taking the scholarship, going to play football and things like that. But that kind of just started to build the blocks for where we are at the time that I'm 43 years old now. Learned a lot over the past 25 years, but mistakes have always been the biggest learning catapults for me in my life. Never really had somebody to hold my hand and be like, hey, do it like this, do it like this. And I think I'm still trying to put a lot together from the time I
Mm,
was 13 to the time I was 19 on why I made some of the mistakes I did. And that's like an ongoing process. A lot of the times we block out the things that happen to
mm,
us the worst, but I was raised by two amazing parents. Like I couldn't have asked for more than what they provided for me, but I started to get into trouble when I was 18, 19 and lost my
mm-hmm.
way a little bit, got in some trouble and didn't really start to figure anything out until the time I was 32, 33 years old. And by that time, I guess the internet started to take a big, big hold and had several jobs, always excelled in customer service. Anything that was customer service, I always made more monetary value in that than anything else. Went three different times, went to school for computers. I wanted to be a structural engineer. And looking back, I'm really glad that I did not choose that line of work because it was probably what 8 or 9 years ago, all these bridges started falling down all over the place. And that was kind of, it was a different resolve, but I've always been fascinated with being able to build things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Huge background as far as construction goes in the commercial industry, doing commercial roofing, things like that. Made a lot of money in those. I think fitness has always been my biggest passion. From the time I was, I'd say probably 28, 29 years old up, started learning a lot about the body. My
Mm-hmm.
dad became diabetic, got type 2 diabetes around 2006, 2007, and 2013, he got leukemia as well. And it was like what was good for the leukemia was bad for the diabetes, and what was good for the diabetes was bad for the leukemia. So I think the biggest imprint I had on myself in the fitness industry was trying to figure out how to cure diabetes when they say there isn't a cure. And that really catapulted me and pushed me deeper into learning the inner workings of the body, sensitization or sensitization techniques, things like that, what we can do as individuals to kind of counteract the effects
Mm-hmm.
of things we put in our body on a daily basis.
Okay.
Because I mean, 10 years ago, it used to be you could shop around a grocery store around the outside of it and you
Mm-hmm.
were going to be healthy. And now that's just not the case. Like they put so many pesticides and so many poisons in all these food just to create the shelf life to last longer and make them bigger so we can form it or so we can feed more people. And I think that's the biggest chokehold that has had on the industry itself. And now is my personal belief that the pharmaceutical companies and things like that are more into cahoots with the FDA and what's allowed and what's not allowed. And the term "it's not harmful in small amounts," that just kind of that really makes me mad. I get like, I don't know, it's just because of how passionate I am with it. That's a lie because I didn't know science was not my favorite subject in school.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it was math, but I
Mm-hmm.
know on a cellular level that your cells, regardless if it's harmful in small amounts or not, like if it's
Mm-hmm.
bad for you, it's bad for your cell. If it's good for your cell, it's good for your cell. And
Mm-hmm.
got into the point where I was actually told that I needed $136,000 to start my own app idea. And with that, I went out, got up, and went and started knocking on doors. And here we are 7 years later. As far as a roofing company, we're just shy of $2 million this year for revenue. Still have a huge passion for fitness, and overall health. And there's a lot of misguided people out there nowadays. And yeah, it just, I don't know. I'm getting a wave of emotions right now because I'm reminding myself of everything that I need to be doing at the same time, just to help, I guess, kind of resequence the way that people are thinking and believing. But at the same time, like, they're just, every time anybody sees me, it's like, oh, it's your metabolism, oh, it's your genetics, and da 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 da. And, when I was 20,
Mm-hmm.
25 years, I believe that a little bit,
Yes.
but me treating my body, eating, drinking, and doing basically what I want, I don't believe that it's your genetics and your metabolism any longer. I think it's the way that there's certain things that happen inside of our bodies. And
Mm-hmm.
regardless of anybody saying that, everybody's body's not the same, that's just an outright lie. Like when we're born outside of anything but disease, everybody's body is designed to function the exact same way. So that's no different if I'm 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. It's just the way that I've treated my body and what I've exposed my body to. And that's really the only difference between me and you. You know what I mean? Like obviously we're going to have different
Mm-hmm.
DNA. Proving now DNA can
Mm-hmm.
be changed inside of your body. And metabolism, you can totally remorph your entire body in 9 months as long as you had the dedication to do it. And I think there's a lot of big misconceptions in every industry, but the
Mm-hmm.
health and fitness industry is obviously the number one because everybody wants to take a supplement for something or take steroids. And that's just, there's no longevity in that. You know what I mean? And we started something called Proper Function. And my idea for that probably started 8 years ago, 9 years ago. We did men's physique competitions when I was in my mid
Mm-hmm.
30s. Freaking excelled at that, but ended up getting a really bad injury to my SI joint to where I just couldn't compete anymore. And kind of switched everything and the path we were headed, and still had the idea for the app, everything full circle that I wanted there, but the technology just does not exist for where we're trying to head with that. And the more and more I see the world come full circle, because now you're seeing everything about vitamins and minerals and things like that and how important they are into your body. But in the grand scheme of things, the technology I need that doesn't exist yet is never going to be created just because it's going to completely solve all health issues. And big pharma is number one, baby. They are the
Okay.
most important industry all across the land. And if big pharma is going to lose money, they are going to make you
Mm-hmm.
disappointed. No conspiracy there, just personal opinion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the overall big grasp of things of how things have gone for me in life, you know what I mean, without digging too deep inside of everything. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
could tell you stories and things like that for the next, 2 to 3 years that you would be like, wow, man, you've been through a lot in your life. And I just believe overall that, you have a pre-described destiny for you when you're born.
Mm-hmm.
You have things that you are supposed to accomplish in your life. And regardless of how long it takes you to do that, you're still going to be on the same life path.
I
You're going to have a lot of
agree.
heartache like that. You know what I mean? But at at the beginning, like you're destined to do one thing, and depending on what you believe and how you believe, your God is going to put you through trials, tribulations to make you stronger. And a lot of people deter themselves. A lot of people get depressed. A lot of people get overstimulated, is a new word in today's culture. And that's just, I don't know. It's always been, I've purposely overstimulated myself just to help myself evolve to handle more stress. Just like the ADHD thing, a lot of people use that as a scapegoat. And I'm like, you have a benefit that people like use as a crutch when in reality you should be using it to expand your horizons, because I think that's one of my biggest assets is that I can multitask. And when having ADHD and I learned to use that as a benefit, I'm kind of sometime exercising the ADHD to make it worse. That way I can handle more things as a whole. Whereas in having something like, hey, I'm doing this one thing all day, every day, like that's never going to work for me. Like it'll take me longer to do one thing than it'll take adding that same thing into 5 or 6 different things. Like I'm going to get the 5 or 6 different things accomplished a lot quicker than what it is just that one. So, entrepreneurial mindset, love helping people. And I think fitness is going to be the number one way to do it. Obviously, we try to, well, we haven't tried. We've enacted that into the roofing company and caring about all our clients, which is why we kill
Hmm.
it as far as Google and our area here. So now this is hopefully going to be a big scale year for us. We're right on the brink of being able to scale the company, but I'm terrified because I mean, I know some when it comes to business, but man, I have no idea how to actually scale a company full circle. And then people hear me say that and they're like, "Oh, I'll help you." Da 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 da. And let's be
Hmm.
honest, never had a company and you've never scaled it, you really don't know what you're doing. You're going by everything that's said on the internet and the same thing with the diet and workout plans that people sell to you when you go looking for a personal trainer. That's really all personal trainers are doing. People don't need personal trainers, they need accountability coaches. That's what they need. Like you can go in and get the same information that you're getting that a workout coach is going to give you on the internet. Like the internet is amazing. We have these little tiny devices in our hands, compliments of my 5 year old. We have these devices in our hands that can teach us and show us absolutely everything.
Yes.
Artificial intelligence is reshaping the way everybody learns, and there is zero excuses now for you to have to hire somebody in order to teach you nutrition and teach you how to of the working out. Like there's videos all over the place, you know what I mean? But what people are really missing, which is the reason why I would fail any personal training tests that you give me was because I'm an against the grain kind of person, but like without, taking my shirt off and flexing for everybody, like it really comes down to the inside of your body. Like the neurons play a huge role inside your body. Like you can drink as much protein as you want, but if your neurons aren't readily available, you're going to build absolutely no muscle. You know what I mean? Like growth hormone is going to play a big part, lactic acid is going to play a big part, and the style of workout that you have is going to play a big part because when it comes down to it, oxygen is the number one thing that we need inside of our body. And having blood available at the proper times is even more
Hmm.
important. So I think the other than my father getting really, really sick, I think the number one thing that really pushed me harder was seeing fitness trainers 8 years ago use the logic for eating 6 to 8 small meals a day if you're overweight. And that always bothered me a lot, just for the simple fact that if you're eating 6 to 8 meals throughout the day, your insulin is never going to be baseline. And it's been proven time and time again that if you have elevated insulin levels, that you are never going to be able to burn fat. There's two different pathways that are being signaled. You have your mTOR pathway and you have your AMPK pathway. And if your mTOR is activated, that means you're anabolic. So fat, muscle, tissue, anything inside your body is growing at that point. Whereas in the AMPK is your catabolic pathway, and that's when everything's going to be breaking down. But that AMPK can't burn fat and can't be catabolic if there's any insulin that is present inside your system. So that was my biggest deterrent with the 6 to 8 meals a week. And then hearing fitness trainers say about you have to replenish your glycogen levels after a workout. And it's just, I don't know, people were severely misguided. And it's like anybody that's charging an outrageous amount of money, they want to buy that program because they have subconsciously convince themselves that it's actually going to work when in reality that's not the case. You know what I mean? So giving free information away, like it's just hard to believe something like that, but proof of concept is more important than everything. And I think I just really need to take the time here the next 2 months and put everything down into one book and then just release an ebook for everybody to read because I think that's going to be the easiest way to use the KISS method. And if nobody's familiar with the KISS method, it's keep it simple, stupid. And that was basically introduced to me in, oh man, I think that was 2009 when I was doing commercial roofing. He's like,
Hmm.
man, you're comping this or over complicating this. You just need to keep it simple. And It really is that simple. There's just a few things. I mean, I could sit there and tell people 1,000 different things to do in your life, but there's really only 5 to 10 concepts that people really need to understand in order to be able to build the type of body that you want, in order to be able to have the longevity you want, in order to drink Coca-Cola or eat that donut, because there is absolutely nothing in my nutrition aspect of things that I steer away from. If I want it, I eat it. The sugars, number one piece of advice would be, if you're going to eat something sweet, make sure it's natural. Make sure it's sugar, sugar cane, things like that. Stay away from the diet drinks and anything diet or anything that says zero sugar. Like, sugar is the number one source for brain fuel because of how it converts to glucose so quick. Whereas in your aspartame, your sucralose, your fructose, your high fructose corn syrup, all those things are just poisons that were created, and your body doesn't know how to process it. And that's what it really comes down to, because everybody has cancer cells inside their body, but at the same time, they're not active. But when we overfeed ourselves, or when we eat too much of one thing, because even though it's good for us, it could be
Mm-hmm.
bad if we overeat it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of vitamins and minerals out there that are in fruits and vegetables that if you overeat them, they can actually make your blood toxic. And people just don't understand the concept of doing things in a small amount. And I think that's the number one thing that people really need to drive home. But when it comes down to it, man, personal trainers are there just to teach you what they were taught. It's just like a doctor. Like, if you were going to come in and be a doctor, he's going to teach you the way that he was taught. And Western medicine is absolutely tragic. It's my firm belief that everything was corrupted in 1912 to 1918 in the petroleum industry. And if anybody is a fan of the show Landman, I think Billy Bob Thornton is one of the big stars in it, but there's a clip where he's talking about the big windmills, and then he goes in to talk about how petroleum is absolutely in everything that is man-made. And when you think about that
Okay.
and you start seeing some of the things that petroleum are actually in, and these things are like foods that we are putting inside of our body, like it just makes zero sense. Even, a lot of them will be like, oh, it's only harmful and if it's in large amounts and not small amounts. But then you add that back into the cellular part of things, and just having a basic knowledge of science and how the cells inside your body work, and it makes absolutely zero sense. It's like, ever since we were born, we are doomed from the door by all the bullshit that we are subjected to and what has become planet Earth. You know what I mean? And I just kind of started the logic of something else that I was introduced to in the early 2000s. It was a philosophy of objectivism. The whole basis for that is, why is the plant behind you the color green? And when you come down to it, you really have zero logical explanation on why that is the color green, other than that's what you were told. You cannot prove to me that that plant behind you is the color green. You just can't. There's no way to do that. And I took that theory and just adapted it to everything that I do in life. And it's caused a lot of headache for me. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I get to see through a lot of the bullshit. You know what I mean? I love science. I'm absolutely fascinated with science, but science has gone rogue. You know what I mean? And unless you see something happen before yourself right in front of your eyes, it's just hard for me to believe it anymore, especially within like the last 4 to 5 years. Like when COVID came around, and even before that, man, because it really doesn't matter when it comes down to it. I know, a lot of people that are super into politics, Democrats, Republicans, individuals, like it really, everybody's just it's my personal opinion that everybody
Mm-hmm.
has over their eyes right now. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, there's always going to be liars, because when you get down to it, it's all about the money. And when you can find somebody that doesn't care about the money and that actually wants to do good for people, it's like they're the outcast. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you have ulterior motive, you have an agenda, just like all the studies that you read in fitness and in the fitness industry. I don't know how many times I've caught big name studies. I used to be a huge fan of the European Journal of Science and Physiology, and you'd be digging through a lot of their research documents, and you would find things that contradicted each other. And I'm like, yeah, it's just who's paying for the study? What agenda do they have? And medicine is a great thing. I 100% believe in medicine. I do not take them. You know what I mean? There is no cure for anything that is man created. We can prevent. against things. And that's my whole standpoint with the vitamins and minerals. They're going to prevent a lot of diseases as long as you're getting the right amounts. And we just don't have food sources to do that anymore. You know what I'm, and it's just, it pains me, especially when I've on the fitness aspect of things, and then you're on the health aspect of things, and there is really no common ground. Your body's not supposed to be under significant amounts of stress. I learned that the hard way because I got constant shoulder pain, elbow pain, knee pain from lifting around big weights. And I wish I had that to do all over again. But fortunately for me, I've always been, the one that's going to learn from, oh, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Trial and error, basically. Like I guess that's one of the biggest downsides of why the grass is green and why the plants are green, just because you have to figure a lot of stuff out for yourself. And I don't recommend that for everybody. Some
Hmm.
people were better off being sheep and following everybody else, but that's not who I am. That's not who I am on the inside. I wish nothing but prosperity, love, and
Hmm.
peace for everybody. And, there has to be at least one person. 2015, 2016 into 2017, I made a choice to go to one of the bigger cities to try to preach all the knowledge that I had when it came into the fitness and the health industry. And I was basically chased out of Rochester, Minnesota, just because I was crazy. And at the time, I knew I wasn't crazy because I just seen how everything responded inside of my body. It's just I didn't have enough money to make people want to believe it. You know what I mean? I didn't have the right team. I didn't have the right guidance to explain everything the way it needed to be. And now here we are 8 years later, and everybody's starting to finally catch on and see like a lot of the shit that is in our food is not good for us. That's not what you're supposed to eat. But I mean, if I could give one piece of advice to anybody on what they were going to do, you have to utilize fasting. Fasting is a safeguard for your body. You cannot continuously feed your body. Like your insulin being raised on a consistent level is not good. Um, and secondary to that would be learn to get your body to function without readily available fuel inside of it. So when you wake up, like me, prime example, I absolutely despise coffee. I hate the way that it tastes, but
Okay.
every day, Monday through Friday, from
Hmm.
the time I wake up till noon, I do not put anything in my body. If I'm hungry in the morning, I'll take coconut oil and put in the coffee just because your body's not going to release an insulin response to that coffee. And letting my body pure pull from the sources that are stored inside my body versus eating breakfast first thing in the morning. Like the breakfast might give you energy, but you're not letting your body push out all the toxins. You're not letting your body run through the process and force yourself being able to generate some type of energy. That way, your body can naturally do the things that it needs to do, as compared to, eating cereal first thing in the morning, eating pancakes first thing in the morning, eating anything that is processed first thing in the morning. And that's a big stigmatism, I think, that sit in the fitness industry for a long time, that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And anytime somebody says that to me, I'm like, they also said not to eat fat in the 90s too. And look at all the diseases that were formed because of them telling us that we weren't supposed to eat fat in the 90s. And the insulin diet, type 2 diabetes was one of the biggest things that ever really hit the market in a hard level. And it was definitely goes hand in hand with not getting the right fats on the inside of your body, because your body needs all that stuff. You know what I mean? Your neurons, like the creatine, the whole creatine thing that has been going on in the industry for the longest time. And the creatine is one of the most important things you can put in your body. It helps the way your neurons fire in your brain. It helps your cognitive ability. It helps your strength levels. It helps so many things that are a benefit inside your body. But it was just like, personal opinion again, that it was harmful to the pharmaceutical industry. You understand? So, I mean, it's just been hard, especially nowadays, man. There's so many people that are on the media all across the world that are just having their own agendas. And it's sad to watch things, just like depending on where you are in the world, this whole drone shit going over the state of New Jersey for the past 2 to 3 months.
Yes.
And people get in that conversation with me, and I'm like, man, you guys are being duped, dude. It's like, oh, look here, when in reality you should be looking the other way. And then I think whether it's true or not, I'm not 100% sure, but I just saw that the current administration, obviously, we were just elected a new president, and the current administration is trying to send it's like $60 billion overseas and give people amnesty for the things that have happened the past 4 or 5 years, when in reality, like, I don't even know what you would need amnesty for. And when you really haven't done a whole lot wrong, that just makes me believe a little bit more like, hey, you guys know you're doing something wrong. We just don't know it yet. And now you want to be not held accountable for it. And that's just bullshit, dude. That's why people fail at all their fitness goals. That is the only reason people don't fail. People fail at their fitness goals is because of their accountability. Like I said, we don't need fitness coaches. We don't need nutrition coaches. We can learn all of that on our phone in a few hours. What we need is accountability coaches. That is the number one thing. That's why the lifestyle coach hit the market. Oh, what was that? I think it was like 2015. I was on my to figuring out there was 4 cities that I was looking at when I was going to leave here and try to push the vitamins, the minerals, the healthy aspect of things. And it was Denver, Colorado, not San Antonio, Texas, it was Austin, Texas, Denver, Colorado, and Minneapolis, Minnesota, which I converted to Rochester just because the cost of living was significantly less um, out there. And then obviously New York. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going into that battleground. That's like one of the biggest cities in America. And I just didn't want to fight with all that. So Rochester, Minnesota, it was, man. Very beautiful place out there. They had the Mayo Clinic, which does a lot of research in themselves. And a lot of their research is pretty on point. They have the Ronald McDonald house out there. Huge believer in that just because St. Jude's funds a lot of that, and we are big contributors to St. Jude's every single year. Me and my family. My dad did this for, oh man, 5 to 10 years, I think. He would go down right before Christmas every year to one of the local malls and buy St. Jude's bears and give them out to little kids. And dad passed away almost 4 years ago now. And we've done it every year since. We've gone down there at a little bit larger of a scale. I think there's anywhere between 8 and 20 of us that go down when we do that, and it's pretty cool experience, man. Just seeing people. And dad always said, he was like, well, a mom was with him, and the first question was, how do we know who to give it to? And dad's answer was always, you'll just know. And that hit really hard this year, seeing my mom actually gave 2 of the bears to 2 little kids, and the
Mm-hmm.
look on this little 1.5 year old's face when he got this bear, because he was just looking at it like, lady, who are you and why are you standing over the top of me right now? And he realized he was getting that bear, and that just made the whole year for me. You know what I mean? Seeing the joy on little kids and things like that. Like, I'm a huge advocate for protection as far as old people, women, and children. Like, obviously, bad things happen in the world every single day, and I'm a huge empath. I feel everybody else's pain, even if it's like in movies and things like that. But then people are like, oh, you're just soft. And I'm like, man, if you've seen what I've been through in my life, that was the last word that you would think to call me, because there is nothing that is soft about me. It's just, I feel, you know what I mean? Like, I've been through a lot of shit in my life that I have self-created. But again, I just believe that's all part of God's plan into making me who I am today, and to be a protector and to be a sheepdog in essence and protect those who can. So that's been a huge thing with me. And I think it's just part of my mentality in who I've adapted and become the past 20 years of my life, that trials and tribulations are what's going to make you stronger, as long as you learn to choose the right direction out of them, I guess is what I would say. Just because, like, bad things happen to people all the time, and they're like, well, why me? And I'm like, you're asking the wrong question. Like, it shouldn't be why well me. It's be like, what do I need to learn from this? And I think that's one of the big things that we are missing inside of existence as humans here on the earth, that people just don't do. It's always the, I'm going to cry now and not worry about the later. Or, hey, this happened to me 10 years ago, and they use it as a crutch. And I'm like, man, you guys, like, I don't know what the difference was between the way I was raised and my father and everybody else, But at the same time, it's just seeing the youth now and seeing the disrespect on some of these kids, man. I'm like, like I smile thinking my teeth would have been on the floor if I would have talked to my parents like that back in the day. And I think that's the discipline. You know what I mean? It all comes down to the accountability and the discipline. And, people are having kids when they weren't even taught to how to be adults themselves. And now
Yes.
they would just want to sit and argue on social media and forecast their opinion, and my opinion matters. When in reality, I look at it like I'm not going to listen to somebody that has never done something with their life. Like you're on welfare. Why should anybody take any advice from you unless you're actually trying to make something better? Because it's
Yes.
like I am 100% believer in there are no bad situations that are going to happen without somebody being able to take at least one thing that's positive out of it. Even some of the most ignorant, disrespectful, stupidest people that exist on planet Earth, you can always learn something. And I think it's just a whole mentality shift. I think that's what the world really needs is to start holding ourselves accountable and look at it for not really what it is and look at it as in a broad spectrum. Like, five different things can happen in a scenario. And I use this analogy. Like if me and 10 of our friends are standing at an intersection and there's only two cars on the entire roadway and all 10 of us are looking exactly at the same spot and we see two cars collide, but the police show up and take our stories, how many different stories do you think that you're going to have? They're not all going to be the same. You're
Yes.
probably looking at 6 or 7 different stories. And that's really not how it happened. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that we all need to work on and be a little bit better as individuals is being honest with ourselves and not trying to portray something different just because of our beliefs. You know what I mean? And it's different, man. It's different being me. It's a lot harder. I get that, but I know that that like I'm destined for something that's going to help influence a lot of people. And that if I close my eyes the final time and I accomplish that, I know I'm going to live a well successful life and leave behind a legacy. And that's what pushes me every day, man, just to make people happy, try to take care of people as much as possible, and make sure that they get value out of any interaction that I have for them. But I'm the crazy guy that doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'm almost 44 years old and I have the body of a 22-year-old and I drink Coca-Cola 3 to 4 times a week. So, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of different. It's different. Definitely different. But sorry, I know there was a few times you were going to say something that kind of kept
No, I
moving.
actually really enjoyed listening to you, and every time I'm around you, I just feel that, man, you have a lot to tell, and I have a lot to learn. In fact, everyone has a lot to learn from you because you have faced hard times, you are compassionate, and the best thing is you just took all the positives from every story you could took because you had a rough childhood, you faced many situations in your life, but you never took anything as negative. You just a person who can see a positive thing in any situation. That's what I feel about you.
Yeah.
And the question I was about to ask you was just that you have shared so much in these 20 minutes or more. I just want to ask you that are you at peace right now? Like,
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I
okay.
am not, and I will
And
not stop until I am at peace. It's like
mm, like,
what I
are
said.
you chasing peace, or is it something that you feel that humans can't be peaceful in this world?
That is good. That is good. That's one of the better questions I've ever been asked. The only way to really honestly answer that is to know an individual themselves. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because you can meet somebody that's 80 years old and they are at
Hmm.
peace. And normally, the older you get, the more you develop to be at peace with yourself. But then you get people like me that are super driven, super ambitious, super high energy. And it's like, you know, if everything is going right at the same time, it's like we're peeking around the corner because we know something's about to pop up. You know what I mean? But if you were to remove me from the roofing industry and you were to remove me from the fitness industry, if somebody came along and said, "Look, I don't ever want to see you on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube ever again. Here's $5 million, go disappear," uh, I still wouldn't be at peace because I wouldn't I wouldn't feel like the purpose in my life is being fulfilled. And that is probably the number one driver, just because people keep telling me no, just because people keep telling me that I'm crazy. And I know I'm not. And do I have scientific, factual proof to show people to get them to believe? No, I don't. I don't. Um, Other than the way that I look, obviously. And I don't think, to answer your question from my standpoint, I don't think I'll ever be at peace. The only thing that would ever bring me any type of peace was knowing that I gave 100% to everything that I was doing, and the people around me are going to benefit off of that, as far as having the most minimal hurdles to overcome in their life. You know what I mean? Like I made I made my dad a promise when right before he died. And I told him that regardless of what happened with anybody in the family, I would always look after and take care of everybody. And that has been the number one thing for me. I use a lot of the hashtag sheepdogs on some of my posts. And that's just the same thing, to take care of the people that can't take care of themselves. And I know that I need to be, in order to be a business owner and to get my business to where I need it to be, I need to be a little bit more aggressive in a lot of my thinking and not care as much about people's feelings. But I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do that. I need to hire somebody that is in my business, that is going to have the accountability at a higher level than what I do, just because like I feel everybody's pain and give entirely too many chances to the people that are around me, man. Kind of a pushover in that regard. But at the same time, like I said, we're at the beginning of a big scale year this year. So I'm learning to be more disciplinary within the way that I feel and take an emotion out of it. Just because like you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different response. And I've put a lot of hard work into this company. Like the first 4 years, I installed absolutely every single one of the roofs that we ever put down. And now it's getting to the point where if I'm going to scale um the culture and the morale that this company actually stands for, I have to learn to leave well enough alone and not keep doing the same thing over and over again. Um, as far as looking at it through somebody else's eyes, I think happiness is your peace. I think that's what really, any place that somebody can actually be peaceful is happiness. And in order to get to that point, it really just determines on the individuals themselves. Like it's what drives one person might not drive the other person. Some people might be happy sitting at home. Like look at accountants. Like how happy can they be in their lives? You know what I mean? Like they sit behind a computer all day, and their thought process on what they feel happiness is, like that's their peace. Some people like sitting behind a computer all day. I personally can't do that. So like that's a really, really good question. I would have to, I just kind of wing that because I don't really, that's one of those late night thought processes for me, because it's without a doubt I'm a night person when it comes to being creative and trying to bring something to the table that's brand new. And without a doubt, 100% it's me standing outside at night underneath the stars. Like I'm a huge believer of, I don't want to say holistic medicine, but being connected to everything that's around us. Like this just didn't pop up overnight, you know what I mean? And people can argue and bicker back and forth about Big Bang theories and your God and my God and these gods, but in reality, like it's what we hold inside of ourselves that is going to lead us to the beliefs that we have. And you have to deal with that every day. You have to justify your actions to yourself every day, whether you believe that or not. Like your actions are what make you the person that you not only are right now, but are also becoming. And the only thing that comes before that is the way that you respond. I'm trying to teach my 5-year-old in the process to control his emotions, because your emotions are going to ultimately lead to your actions. So not getting mad when something happens. And I'm very, very grateful that I learned this within the last few years to for him to be at the point that he is now, just because 5, 6, 7 years old is one of the most influential points in a little kid's life, and getting him to calm down, when something doesn't go his way or he loses a game or anything that happens when he gets hurt. You know what I mean? So I think there was a Chinese, I don't remember where I saw it. I'm pretty sure it was like on Instagram. But the father, I don't even think it was the father, it was the grandfather, seen a little kid and she was riding a tricycle. Little girl couldn't have been but 3 years old. And every time she would do something to where she fell and got hurt, he would just turn around and look away and be like this. And I've probably watched that 10 to 15 different times. There's probably 3 to 4 different reels that I watch on a consistent basis just for motivation and just to remind me the path that I'm headed, because it's a busy world, man, and we can get so caught up in a lot of different things that go on on a daily basis, you know what I mean? So just having a reminder on who we actually are, holding ourselves accountable, and trying to treat ourselves the best at all costs. I have people tell me all the time, "Oh, you need to go on vacation and you need to do this and you need to do that." And I'm like, dude, I don't feel myself if I'm not out producing or trying to create for my family. Like, that's who I am. I don't even have no ambition to be in the gym anymore. Like right now, would normally be into the gym 3 to 4 times a week like years past, but I think I've been to the gym once in the last 4 weeks. You know what I mean? And before that, like in the midst of summer, I don't even know if I was at the gym June, July, and August, just because I was working 80, 90, 100 hours a week, and trying to build a good, guess you would call it, foundation for the company that we can scale off of. And I mean, we're here in South Central PA, got close to 200 Google reviews. If you go to any of our clients um, that we've done business with in the past 3 years and not even mention our name and ask them, well, who is the company that put your roof on, they're going to tell you exactly who it is. We're not one of those companies that are just going to, disappear and you're going to forget our name. And if you do, I'm going to be calling you every 3 months just to see how you're doing, because that's what it's all about. Like, the Christmas is coming, you're going to meet a lot of people. New Year's is coming, you're going to meet a lot of people. And I'm sure out of the next 100 people you meet, at least one of them is going to need a new roof in the near future. So trying to keep top of mind on that, and starting to try to work everything into what my passion is for fitness and overall health. It's going to be an interesting year, man. I see a lot of 100-hour weeks coming up, as much as I'm being told not to, but it's just who I am, man. It's how I tick. It's how I've been my entire life, and I've got a lot to do before I leave this earth. And people say all the time, what's my girl call it? She calls it hot girl fit, because I have a nice looking body, but then you look at the inside of my body and it's probably absolutely trash. But in reality, I'm top 97 percentile for CO2, or VO2 max in my age category. I smoke a pack of cigarettes a day. There's no logical reason that you can tell me that I'm that high a percentile for my VO2 max, when I smoke a pack of cigarettes a day. So that kind of leads me into more rabbit holes of, what is it about nicotine that we're missing? What is it that we're being told, and what is it that we're missing? Um, and I have a lot of stuff written down of, hey, this is what we need to Google and this is what we need to find, because everybody will always find the answer of what they want if they search for it, whether it's
Yes.
wrong or whether it's right. It all depends on how you word things and you punch them into Google. And Chat GPT is a prime cursor for that, because you can find, if you put the right prompts in Chat GPT, man, Chat GPT can do so much work for you that it's not even funny. And it's amazing, man. It really is. Sorry, my phones are all blowing up. They did. Do you have an iPhone?
Yes.
The new update. I have 15 Pro Max. I cannot for the life of me find out how to put this phone on silent anymore. They changed all my buttons. And I'm just like, dude, I got to turn my volume down. And then it took me forever to try to figure out how to get the volume up. And I'm like, man, I've created all this and can't figure out one little tiny device. Maybe I should take it to an 11-year-old and he'll be like, hey,
Yes.
here's how you, funny how that happened, right?
Okay.
I do want to clarify one thing. It wasn't that I had a bad childhood because I was raised by two amazing parents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my grandfather died at the age of 14, and my life
Mm-hmm.
kind of became a roller coaster ride after that. It wasn't nothing to do with my mom and dad and everything to do with the outside influence I had in sports.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball coach, ninth grade, basketball coach, junior and senior year, football coach, senior year. Um, we excelled. My dad coached basketball and football through all three of his sons, and we'll use basketball as an example. He coached 12 years for basketball and won 10 championships in the 12 years that he coached. So we were always used to winning. He just knew how to get people to follow simple instruction and to work as a team. And after I got out of that foothold in seventh grade, it was not like that at all. I had one coach that had those capabilities. And after that, it was like everybody hated my father for the abilities that he possessed. And he decided there was no better way than to take it out on his sons. And that played a big mental and psychological effect on me to where I started just looking for retribution. Like, why is it I worked so hard for 6 years in a row and like nothing ever worked out for me? And there was pinpoints on specific people throughout that time period that were just, I don't want to say evil, but they just didn't have everybody's best heart or best interest at heart, and definitely didn't have my best interest at heart. And it kind of shaped my mentality for a year. And I had a lot of things happen to me in those times that it didn't work out for me. And anger and everything else came up, um, and I ended up having to learn the hard way on a lot of the things that I did in my life. And didn't realize it at the time, but super blessed for things to go down the way that they did between the time that I was 19 to the time that I was 25, just to reshape who I actually am. And God had a big foothold on everything that I've done my entire life, knowing that, you know, there's a phrase, oh, I can't even remember. I think it was Jordan Peterson. I heard it the first time. It said it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a garden in a war.
Yes, it's Jordan Peterson. Yes.
Yeah. And I think Joe Rogan has piggybacked off that a little bit, but Joe Rogan's a whole other topic right there. Man, that guy. Whew. Yeah. No wonder people don't like him. I was like, it's easy, but you have to be open-minded. You know what I mean? Like Joe Rogan will bring his biggest enemy in and sit him directly across the table and try to understand like why are they enemies? And it's just like it's amazing, man. Like I listen, you ever want to blow yourself out of the water, go listen to just the first hour of the very first podcast that Joe Rogan and Elon Musk did together, because you're just going to be sitting there like, what the freak are these guys talking about, man?
Hmm.
Because Elon, I don't even think that man's real. Like, just to clarify, I am not a fan of EVs. I think EVs are the worst thing that could ever hit the market, just for the simple fact that, we can get in talking about the cobalt and the mines and where all that stuff's going to go. But more importantly, like, there's a lot of Earth that we live on that gets really, really cold in the wintertime and batteries freeze, man. So, like, it's not the best idea in the world right now, but I'm sure somebody sooner or later are going to solve the things that go on there. You know what I mean? But man, I've been rambling here for a while. I need to start putting these thoughts in paragraphs so that maybe we could go back and forth
Maybe
a bit
you should
more.
write a book, maybe instead of an ebook. Maybe a book would be a better option.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think the first one's going to be the inner workings of the body and why I look like the way that I do, because like I have a thing called a plant theory um that I use, and it's basically everything's good for you and everything's bad for you. You know what I mean? Like your body, just like your muscles, your body has to work out itself too. Like everything down to the sensitization of the pathways that are inside of it, to the ligaments, the tendons, how your neurons fire up and down your body, myelin, how the myelin is processing and forming in your brain. And it's just a lot there, man. Like I wish I would have paid a little bit more attention to science than what I did. But at the same time, yeah.
Let me just digest all of what you have said because I gotta learn a lot from you. So
Well, learn a lot from
yeah,
other people as well. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure there's a million things that are in your life that I need to learn from as well. I think patience is being the number one thing because I can tell you are a very, very intelligent man as far as patience go. You know what I'm saying? And that is not my biggest and best quality by any means. It is bad. I am not a patient person. Not a patient person.
maybe I feel that I didn't practice patience or I tried to learn it. And I personally don't feel I am a patient person as well because I feel that when we are working on the things like in my personal life, how my team sees me, they say that you are a fast mover. And at times, I think we kind of shift personalities when I'm sitting with someone that I feel I can learn from them. I just tend to become this patient person. And at times when I feel that I need to put that suit of a fast mover and of a leader that just wants to get things done. I put on that suit as well. So maybe now you have got things to tell me. That's why you can, and I know I can learn from you. So that's why I'm learning. However, I just had one point in my mind. You mentioned that peace is happiness or happiness is peace. I kind of forgot that the exact wording. That raised a question in my mind, Jason, that oftentimes, like in any business, but if we talk about roofing specifically, many roofers do bad jobs, and when you are young, you make money, and money makes you happy and peaceful as well. But later on, when you grow up, you realize that true peace or the inner peace comes from adding value to others, maybe in business or in personal life, or adding value to your family members as well. And that's a point where you realize that you have done so many things in your past, and oftentimes people even don't realize that, and that's why they just keep doing all these bad jobs, and uh, they just don't care about people, I feel that. And money is something that makes them feel peaceful as well. So what are your thoughts about that? Do you feel the same, or do you have any advice or something, like something, anything that you want to teach to these people, or what do you feel about those people, because they also feel that happiness is peace and they are getting that happiness from screwing people? That's what I feel.
Money is the root of all evil, but at the same time, money is the root of everything that is good.
Hmm.
So it really comes down to the values that the people have, especially in the roofing industry. See, when I
Hmm.
got in, the first 4 years, I dedicated myself to trying to learn the way that every single roofing system is installed. That
Hmm.
came with a heavy price tag. I remember one time in general, we messed up a piece of cap and it was 3 hours away. And it was a Sunday morning when I had found out, and I literally drove 7 hours that day to be on site for 5 minutes to fix something. So I wasted all of not only the time, but the gas money that was included. And we were just at the very beginning. You know what I mean? So it really comes down to the intentions that everybody has. And unfortunately, for people like me and you have to really pay attention to somebody for an extended period of time to see their true intentions because people can tell you whatever they want to tell you. It's kind of like believing half of what you see and none of what you hear. And now you can't even believe anything of what you actually see just because people are severely misguided and they don't have their heart in the right place. They're just out for money. Um, Not to speak bad about anybody, but we'll use equity companies as a prime example. I'd say 90% of the subcontractors that exist in the roofing industry are subcontractors for a reason because they are not good and they can't form their own
Yes.
business. You know what
Yes.
I mean? So not having good subcontractors is doing an injustice to the homeowner. Especially you get somebody like me that'll come in and sell you something at $600 a square, but now you get an equity company to come in and sell it at $900 a square just because they have a pushy salesman and they're not being transparent of what their main goal is. Because if they just spoke a little bit about who they actually are, there's no way a homeowner would ever do business with them. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the big things that are um, holding us back just because of the transparency that we're there with. You know what I mean? And I think one of the songs that I heard a long time ago, it was actually in a rap song, and I can't even remember who said it. He said, "Even if we bubble slow, we'll get it eventually." And I really hold that to heart. Like, even if it's going to take longer for my company to blow up and be big, so be it. You know, we're not going to jeopardize the value and the morale for the reason that this company was created, and it's created to not screw people over, to give them at a good price to where the company can still run, maintain a profit, everybody be fed, and everybody be happy. And a lot of companies don't have that. You know what I mean? A lot of companies are, you know, out jeopardizing themselves through their sales. And not only that, jeopardizing themselves through the installers, but just because you have a bunch of people from their office on social media going like this and telling you how awesome they are, because if you have a problem with your roof, who's going to come fix it? It ain't going to be those smiley faces in the office. I can tell you that right now.
Yes.
It'll be the subcontractors, and it might take them a week, maybe even 2 weeks to get back to that job to fix it. Whereas then if you call us with an issue, it doesn't matter what time of the day it is. You know what I mean? There's going to be only three people that answer the phone here in Chambersburg, and it's going to immediately get to me. And I will have that solved as soon as possible, even if I have to come out there myself and do it, because that's the value that we hold. You know what I mean? And a lot of people aren't like that. And a lot of people, oh, well, we're better than that company, and this is why we're so great. When in reality, they aren't. Those people are just pushing paper. They're not going to actually go up on your roof and help you with anything. They're just there to push forward the value and the business model that they're told to, because that's how they get paid. You know what I mean? And that's really what it comes down to, buddy. We should have a part two.
Yes, I'm feeling that, and that would be solely focused on health, I feel. I agree with you, by the way, that I feel that the kind of person you are gets reflected into the kind of business you create. And
Yes.
you are a man of strong values to me. I know very few people whom I feel about are like the man of their words, and they are man of strong values, I feel. And I also feel that sometimes people kind of they want to take advantage of you. And when you are emotional, as you said, that you need to have someone else in your team who can actually hold people accountable. But right now, what do you feel that is the one thing or the quality that as a leader made you succeed in your business?
Transparency, 100%. Transparency and being honest. Those are the two most important things. And my dad taught me that at a young age. He said, as long as you always do what you say you're going to do and you treat people right, you will be in business forever. And that's really what it boils down to. A lot of people don't hold that, you know what I mean? And that's why it's been a problem for me hiring salesmen, just because I can see through the bullshit, you know what I mean? And it's different if somebody has been there and struggled with me versus, hey, we've already built something and now you're coming on to it. Because I look at it as in, oh, you gotta throw your bones in, bud. Like, what can you do to struggle before I let you reap the benefit off of what I've already built? Whereas in a lot of companies don't do that. There's been a company pop up south of us just in the last 2.5 years. And they did like $6-7 million in business last year. And it was all storm restoration. Like, they've never done retail, and they'll never exist in the retail game just because the profit margins are so much higher in restoration than what they are in retail. Be a man of your word. That's really what it comes down to. It doesn't matter how, like, I don't care about yesterday. I don't care about what happened to you 5 years ago. I don't care about what happened to you 15 years ago. As long as you are a man of your word, I'm willing to train somebody like that. And that's been hard to find, man. That has real been hard to find. Just people don't focus anymore. We just hired our sales technician, our service technician, and he was transparent. He had 15 years experience, but he's had a pretty exciting life when it comes to doing stupid shit. And he's been in handcuffs probably 8 or 9 times, but it was all like, dude, what are you doing? Why would you do something like that kind of thing? And he was 100% transparent. And I can work with people like that. One of the best employees I've ever had. Used to be in trouble and a troublemaker, and he was with me, oh, probably almost 5 years.
Hmm.
And had a heart attack and die. But he was a big reason that this company has gotten to the point that it has now. And every Christmas, I make sure his son's taken care of, man. I just found out here about 2 weeks ago from his grandmother, that he's in college. He just started college at the beginning of the year. And I look back remembering him at the age of 15, and I'm like, man, that went really, really fast. Because that's when it's been right after I think my father died on the 23rd of December and Ray passed away January 7th. So it was like, I looked up at the sky like, hey, if you're going to bring something else into my life, you might as well do it right now because you just took two of the most important things that were in my life at that point. And, it was all happens for a reason. And there's just sometimes, we don't realize what we have until it's gone. And that's a positive in itself because that should just make you pay more attention to the things that are come down the pipeline in the future when people just play the woe is me card and kind of use it as a crutch. And nobody should ever do that. There's always a positive in any situation, regardless of what it is.
So my last question would be that I created actually a list of questions for you, but the conversation just went on, and I feel that some of the great conversation aren't scripted, and the questions aren't scripted as well. They just kind of you get them from your heart, and all the questions I asked you were from my heart. However, one thing that I want to ask you is that how would you like people to remember you? Like, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind in business or for your kids as well?
I want people to remember me for the one that tried to forge a new way to make it better for everybody else. Because that's basically what my whole life has felt like as far as the fitness goes, even the roofing, because we're trying to form a different roofing company than 90% of the people that are out there. Definitely none in my area that have been built the way that I'm trying to do it. And the more and more deeper that I get, the more and more I'm realizing, hey, this is the reason that nobody's ever done it before. And it's just, I don't know. I look at it as I want to be the anomaly. I want to be one of the first that have ever done it. And it's not that, you know, I'm going to lie to myself in that manner. I'm definitely not going to do that. But at the same time, it's just the sense that everybody lies on a consistent basis. And I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be something that was false. You know what I mean? And even if it takes longer, then so be it. I don't know. I feel like I'm already pre-guided by the things that I do. And I know my guardian angel has definitely had his hands full or her hands full or its hands full, whatever it wants to be, the past since I've been alive, without a doubt. And I know that I'm being shaped and molded for something that is going to be super exciting in my life, but I really just want everybody around me to prosper. That's really what it is. I just want everybody else to have an easier way and to have a better life than what I have started to create and was passed off too at the same time. So just being the revolutionary, the against the grain kind of person, but that's not really going to matter if I don't pull something big off. You know what I mean? People are just going to be remember me that I was an idiot that tried to do everything the opposite way of what everybody else was doing it. So, but that does not bother me at all, just because I know in my heart and I know in my existence that everything that I'm doing is the right way to do it. And there is no better peace than that. It's just, I don't really ever feel that I'll be at peace until, I don't know. And I can't ever see myself being at peace. I'm not a peaceful person. I guess I'm just not a peaceful person. I'll have an answer for you that the next time we talk, buddy. I definitely will, because there's peace there somewhere. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. I'm
I
not.
feel that there isn't peace anywhere in this world, and we are not meant to chase peace as well. Maybe peace is something that goes on or that lives with us at every stage of our life, but we just kind of see that okay, it's here, and then we just try to chase the next thing. Or maybe I just can't describe the feeling into words, but I feel that this life isn't to be lived peacefully.
Chaos is that word, my friend.
Yes.
Chaos. That's what it is. Like people need instant gratification all of a sudden. And if they don't get that gratification instantly, they automatically create chaos. But what they don't realize is they're never going to get that instant gratification because as soon as they have that instant gratification, what do they need? They need more instant gratification. And if they don't get it, they're naturally creating chaos and then they don't know how to function. Whereas in me, if everything is calm, I know something's coming right behind it. And I function very well under pressure. It's like I am comfortable with chaos. I think I made a Facebook post about that probably a few years ago. And I'm 100% comfortable with chaos. 100%. Just don't get me in a crowd of strangers that I don't know because I will fold like a cheap foldable seat. I am not good with those situations. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But listen, partner, I am 11 minutes away from this.
Yes,
We should
yes.
do a part two. We should definitely do
Okay,
that,
we'll
man.
definitely do a part two. You can just give me an answer in a minute or two. What would be the number one advice you would give to someone who's just starting out in roofing?
I'm going to answer this two ways.
Hmm.
One, probably don't don't learn how to install every single roofing system by yourself because that is not a very good thing. Um,
Okay.
the biggest piece of advice I would say was to be transparent and don't be greedy. Don't be greedy and be transparent. Because as long as you do that, you're going to build a really good foundation for yourself that's going to be able to be scaled and eventually be bought out if that is your thing. But if you want it to stick around for a very long time, the transparency and being honest with homeowners is going to dominate absolutely everything. Storm restoration is going to fall by the wayside in the next few years just because of the way insurance companies are going to be reshaping the policies. So a lot
Hmm.
of storm restoration companies aren't going to be around. They're going to fall flat on their face. So just be transparent, be honest with homeowners, and try to add as much value as possible. You'll be in business for a really long time.
I feel that we'll need not just one, but quite a lot of more episodes with you, Jason. And it was great having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great holiday week ahead.
I
Thank you so much
appreciate it.
for your time.
Thank you guys. Have a good Christmas.
Thank you. Bye bye.